Welcome to the Close the Chapter podcast. I am Kristen Boyce, a licensed marriage and family therapist with a private practice, Pathways to Healing Counseling. Through conversations, education, strategies, and shared stories, we will be closing the chapter on all the thoughts, feelings, people, and circumstances that don't serve you anymore and open the door to possibilities and the real you. You won't want to miss an episode, so be sure to subscribe. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. I am so grateful you are here with me. Are you going through something in your life where you are trying to reconnect with your authentic self, like how you feel, what you want in your life? Maybe you're stuck in a belief about yourself, like you're not enough, you're not good enough, or there's something wrong with you, or you're defective, or if you were only thinner, more handsome, prettier, if you only had somebody in your life, then you would feel better, then this episode is for you. We're breaking down how to get to the authentic self. We're also talking about a modality called brain spotting. And Cynthia is a brain spotting trainer, and I'm going to get into that. It is a modality that was a spinoff from EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And we at Pathways to Healing Counseling offer brain spotting. I really like it. It's an eye gaze that you're looking at a spot to process material. We get into what it is. I also love EMDR. So let me tell you a little bit about my guest. Cynthia Schwartzberg is a psychotherapist, trainer, and author of The Curious Voyage to Authenticity, a rule-breaking guide for personal growth. She created harmonic brain healing, which we talk about, an experimental neuroscience-informed approach that helps people work with traumatic images, stuck beliefs, and nervous system lock-in, like what is stuck in your body, to release it. Her work supports shifting out of survival mode, softening the inner critic, which we all have, and reconnecting with embodied clarity, self-trust, and authentic expression. Are these things that you want in your life? I think these are things we all want. We break this down on the podcast today. There was so much more we could have gone into, and she gives us so much to self-reflect with. I invite you to grab pen and paper if you want, take notes, self-reflect, and dive into who you really are. Let's take time to release limiting beliefs, like those negative things we tell ourselves, how to work through those so you can feel better and get to the other side. So let's dive in with Cynthia. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. I am so grateful you're joining me for this important conversation. And I want to say right now, writing a book is a labor of so much love, and it's really to make impact into the world. And I highly recommend you getting Cynthia's book. It's called, and I know I said it in the intro, but The Curious Voyage to Authenticity. And there's a journal that goes with it, so you can get both. I love the title of your book, Cynthia. Welcome to the Close the Chapter podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
How did you come up with the title?
You know, I was thinking about it, and then I was just meditating one day, and that was the words. Well, at first, I'll tell you the funny story is I had an original version called The Curious Voyage, a rule-breaking guidebook to authenticity. So I was getting support and help from somebody who published it because the client said to me, you should really relaunch it. And then if you're going to relaunch, you have to add value. So somebody introduced me to this man. He was so giving and kind. And he said to me, you know, your book sounds great, but I don't know if it's a travel log because it's The Curious Voyage. So it's like, where's the voyage going? So I said, it's like a personal journey for seekers and people who really want to live their lives from authenticity. So we switched the words around to make it really clear what the purpose of the voyage is and who it's for. And then he really helped support me to write the voyage. So there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, almost like Joseph Campbell with the hero's journey, right? So that's how the full new title came. And then I really got deeper into like, what is the rule book? What are we breaking? How do we do that? So I added to that because often we will say yes, but we mean no. And we don't always know how to find our yes, the difference between a yes and a no. So we added that, an exercise for that and other exercises. So it's really packed with going on a voyage and then these tools, meaning processes or exercises, self-inquiries to take you there. Like automatic pilot to looking at like your belief systems, your priorities, your values, to building connection to your body, finding the connection and that sensation or that vibe to your authentic self, and then expanding your intuition around that.
Beautiful. Okay, someone says, "Ooh, that spoke to me when I say yes and I really mean no." Where does someone start with unpacking that? If someone's like, "I really want to get better at that. I want to be able to say no
Right.
clearly and directly because that's kind. Clear and direct is kind. How do I get there?"
Yeah. In program, they say what you mean, but don't say it mean. So the best way to get to it is through our bodies and connecting to our bodies because we are energetic beings. So if I'm connected to the flow of what's coming and going through me, and if I feel a softness and an opening, then that feels like a good yes. But if I'm feeling angst, then maybe there's even wisdom in our anxiety. And maybe I don't really want to say yes, that I can't even talk. So I'm struggling to say yes, or I might go, okay, you know how we can get. So when you're doing that, the first step is really awareness. So if I'm aware of something, I can edit it, I can tweak it. We talk about in the book, I become the author of my own book. But without that awareness, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. It might reflect back on, oh my goodness, I didn't say that. I don't know how to get out of it now. What should I do? Those are clues that I didn't really mean yes. When I'm making a struggle for myself, I've created a struggle between myself and another. My body is feeling really tight and angst. Those are good clues. So once I have them, I might want to start by practicing with something that feels less intimate, less like if you could think of like concentric circles, like less in my tight, close to me people circles that I still might have a lot of anxiety and fear and worry about. Will they reject me? Will they still love me? So I want to pick like maybe a circle of healthy-ish. Maybe it could be like a work project. Give myself 24 hours. Say, can I just get back to you on that? That's a good buying time phrase. And then once I've bought that time, I can do some journaling. I can do some dancing. I can take a walk in nature. I can do something to help myself sort of settle in to what feels right and what feels like, as you were saying, a kind way to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you now.
Beautiful. Okay. So some of the things we have in common are you are like a brain spotting trainer. You have trained so many clinicians, which I love that you have made this mark. Can you explain what brain spotting is and how that helps lead to authenticity?
For sure. So brain spotting is a form of a modality. It's a therapeutic modality. And the motto that goes with it is where you look affects how you feel. So I like to say to people, so if I asked you, what's the color of the door of the dwelling that you grew up in? Like, what would you say?
Like my childhood home?
Yeah.
Yeah. What color is it?
What color was the door?
Oh, I think it was ivory.
So didn't you were looking
Took
at
me a minute.
it took a minute.
And I looked to the right.
Right. Correct. Because you went and you accessed information. So our eyes organically go places to support us to think and connect to our memory bank. So when we're putting them into a certain position and connected to that body sensation around an issue, which is what the therapy kind of encapsulates and defines as like a brain spot. It's not like one little particle in my brain, but it's a network because the neurons in our brains, so meaning those little sparkly poppy things that transmit information, when those are firing together, they eventually get wired together. So it becomes like train track, all going in the same direction. A client of mine will describe certain events in her life being traumatic, more like a shish kebab. It doesn't look like the same, but there's some common denominator, some common thread. So when our eyes are focused in a certain direction, it's like we put our foot in a door, we open up that door, and we find all these different seemingly disconnected pieces because we package them separately when they're traumatic and we don't want to really remember them, right? So these seemingly different pieces kind of, like my desk is a mess, my file cabinet's a mess. We go in and we organize the information through a process what's called focused mindfulness. So with a brain spotting therapist or practitioner, you're going to talk about something that's weighing heavy on your heart or something that you also want to expand or grow. And so we talk here about possibility, right? Could you imagine the possibility that this could be easier, whatever the this is, let's say. So when I'm thinking about that, where do you feel that possibility in your body? And let's see if we can find a place for you to look at that gets access to that body sensation. And then from there, you look in that direction. Your eyes might switch and change, but this unfolding experience happens and connections are made and these ahas come. You may either see flipping through a photo album. You might have different body sensations. Everybody processes differently. But some way you go from attention to this more release and integration. And the way is the innate wisdom of your own body. So the gift of a brain spotting therapist and what we train so much in is the process of how we work with our clients to open up to any possibility available for the client and that it comes to the client. We're not directing them. We're supporting them on their own journey.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, isn't it? And people are like, what are we doing? And you're like, because they don't realize how the brain and the body hold and store memory and
Right.
emotions and all the five senses.
Right. And our eyes gave us that access to the visual cortex, which is like back here in our brain, because that's where a lot of the memory is stored. And we will organically look in a similar direction as when we're thinking about something. So if I'm thinking about something, I might look in the same direction as when that something happened or when I was exposed to that something. Or at least my eyes will do a little pattern, recreating that pattern. And that's why it's so hard for us to also get rid of visual images. Because every time I'm thinking about it or I'm telling you about it, I'm imagining it, I'm thinking of it, I see it in my mind thought. For some of us, we can't see, but we have other ways of doing felt sense experiences.
So how does this help us with authenticity? When we say, how does brain spotting help with authenticity?
Well, if I working on a belief, let's say, that I keep trying and this just isn't working out. Well, when you keep trying and it's not working out, what happens? So we might have to talk a little bit about it, but let's say we just work with that for now. I feel hopeless. Okay. When you think about that hopelessness, where do you feel that in your body? And then we do some process around that. But then what happens in that, I might retrace back to when that feeling first started, not consciously retracing, but the brain spottings get deep in my subcortical brain. So it's authentically coming from within me. I'm not being guided in maybe a hypnotic way or in a cognitive understanding way. You as my therapist are not giving me your perspective of what I might be going through. It's arising from within the person. So that's authentic. So in the book, I give examples of different clients and how brain spotting really helps them either calm down. I think I tell a story about somebody came to me, I'm a mess, nothing's going to be able to help. And, as the time went on that we worked together, I got these beautiful messages about where this person's now in their life and how much they are grateful. So the authenticity comes because I'm aligning, if we go back to what I started with about talking about the connection with the yes, no, and the body, I'm aligning with a rhythm in my body that's connected and integrated to my heart, to my feelings, to my thoughts. So it's in a sense, we're connecting our thoughts, our heart, and our feelings. And that is your authentic self, much more so than the trying to please part of us.
Yes. That's a beautiful way to explain it.
One more thing is often the way that you present yourself to people or the way that you're trying has aspects of it that's innately also from your heart. The thing is, kind of going back to the yes and the no, it's like the energy and the purpose and the intention behind doing that may be off. So in the book, like we do talk about like helping to connect to your body a little bit more, learning the difference in that vibration. So with the brain spotting, I'm clearing away my protective mechanism in a sense, because I'm finding my inner strength. So then my protection will come organically when I need it, but I won't be walking around with it.
Yeah. So if someone has a wall up, let's say, or they people please, or they fawn, or they shut down, or they withdraw, those protective mechanisms then become less.
Yes, organically, without us forcing or pushing or directing or
Because we feel
judging
safer.
ourselves for it. We come into relationship with it and we soften it.
Do you think that's because we feel safer then within our own self?
I think that we have another land to be on. So if I'm so over-identified with a certain feisty aspect of myself, by the process and by doing the focused mindfulness, in a way, I'm building a new foundation, especially like, let's say if I'm coming from the world of possibility, and I'll go into harmonic brain healing from that. It's like I say to people, I've been living in this house. I'm going to lay a foundation for a new house, and eventually I'll try it out a little bit at a time. And eventually I move in here. And every now and then I might go visit this other house or like the old neighborhood, but I live here now and I know where I'm living.
That's a helpful metaphor for folks.
Yeah. So I feel like to do this kind of deep, hard work, we need to build a foundation in some way and get tastes of it before we're going to, quote, buy into it, right?
Yes.
Even though we might have put a deposit down on the house. So with the harmonic brain healing, I was sitting with some clients right soon after I learned about a thing called revisioning, which happens to be, and we can talk more about that because it connects so much to your work with possibility. I also learned about the process of counting out loud when giving a session to somebody. I used to keep time in this process that I had worked in years before brain spotting called core energetics, which is working with energy and consciousness. And I'd say to somebody, well, can you be with that for like 10 seconds? Can you be with that for like 30 seconds? I'll let you know when the time is up. But while I was with this one client who had this horrific experience of losing a child, I realized that they were stuck, with their vision, with this image in their head, like what I talked about before. So I thought, because I had just finished for my own life, this revisioning process of imagining myself in the same moment in time, but changing my perspective of how I saw myself and how I related to myself about the way I was going to live going forward, or the way that quote movie had ended. You can never change any people, places, or things, but you can change the way you live with something in your own internal space. So here I was with this client and I said, if you could live with this differently, what would you like? If it was like a movie, how would you wish that you could live with it going forward? Because I know that you can't change the past. And I hear that there was a lot of self-blame and whatnot that went with it. So while the client was thinking of the original moment in time, I counted. And then I said, just imagine that new way of being. And every time I finished my count and they imagined this new way of being, things started to move. No, I did not keep having them revisit over and over the horrific something, because something already changed in the moment. So we replaced that something. So every time I counted to 5, we kept changing things as we went along. And this past weekend has really warmed my heart. I trained over 250 people who work with some war victims and people who are stuck in a wartime, and they're loving it. There's lives transforming so rapidly because it happens so fast. So I've been teaching clinicians how to do this process. And I came across this book called Unlocking the Emotional Brain by Bruce Ecker. Do you know it?
I do. I have not read it, but I've heard it many
Oh,
times.
my goodness.
I need to read it.
You need to read it. I was preparing for giving a presentation and a trauma training, and I wasn't sure, because I wanted to up the presentation. Every time you teach, you want to add value, right?
Absolutely.
So here I was on a train. We were on vacation. I'm reading this book and I'm having so much fun. The parallels. So I realized that harmonic brain healing is memory reconsolidation because memory reconsolidation is this introduces something called a prediction error. So it's a little surprise. So I'm going to tell your audience, we're used to thinking of something a certain way. If we are thinking of it that way, we're also like kind of tunnel vision, looking at life through these glasses, through these lenses, and we don't change. But what happens if something unexpected, like a little surprise comes? So there's this video out there about this basketball game, and you have to see what's different about the game. Most people in the first round don't really see much. Then you find out that there's a gorilla on the basketball court. But we don't predict a gorilla is on the basketball court because we don't think that gorillas belong on basketball courts, so we don't see it. Because our brain is so busy, like filtering out most of life so we can deal with the life that we've got to deal with in the moment. But what happens if in a therapeutic setting, somebody sits with you in a way that's unfamiliar? That somebody there, caring, believing in you, helping you find another way to relate to something. These are little prediction errors that open the door to kind of scramble our brain. And in memory reconsolidation, they talk about like your brain is in a way gets very disorganized. The harmonic brain healing uses rhythm. So counting rhythmically helps the nervous system reset. The parts of our brain that can see the past are very closely networked and connected to the parts that can see possibility in the future and also can see now. And sports psychology uses this all the time. And they often say, because the motor coordinating part of our brain is so closely connected to the planning part. So I'm doing this because it's like right about here in our brains. So if I can imagine myself doing a move, like swinging a bat more smoothly, or doing a movement in skating, because we're all watching, many of us now might be watching the Olympics, then I'm teaching my body a new way of relating to something. So we do that when we're counting, and then we imprint a new image of how to live with something. So while the scrambling of the brain is going on, we're reorganizing and we're making connections within the harmonic brain healing. It's like we turn a switch on, and it could be like one to a couple of sessions. Now, this is a tool for therapists to work within the context of everything that their client needs. Because when somebody's been living through like a lot of trauma and like not fully embodied and connected to themselves, they might start to get more connected, which might then bring up some more things to work on with their therapist. So I'm not saying it's like a one and done. However, I have worked on fear of flying with a few colleagues when I've been doing demonstrations, and they're on airplanes. Like I finished a demo one day and she writes me, she said, "I've made my airline ticket. I'm going to see my teacher. I'm so excited. I'll let you know when I get back." I've heard from colleagues like their client has worked for 15 years on challenges around eating and food. In one session, everything changed. Because also the system is ready for it. They've cleared a lot of things. I mean, I don't really know why. My assistant helped me do a demo. She had a concern and she used it for OCD. A lot of people use this for OCD. She could not leave her house without checking. She was losing like an hour and a half of time, at least. She had to go bring something to somebody far away. So we worked on the checking. The next day was able to go on this adventure. She also let somebody else drive the car, which she never does. And she checked once and everything was okay, and she left and everything was fine.
So are you counting? Like, what does that look like?
Okay.
So just so someone's like, what? I don't understand. Like, what happens in the session? Can you walk us through just briefly what that looks like?
Okay. I'm going to have you do it like from a makeup, so it's a little bit more organic. So let me give you an example here while we're on the air together, okay?
Perfect.
So first you're going to think about something that bothers you just a little bit, because we're on the air and it's just a demo.
Yeah. Okay. Something that bothers me just a little bit. Probably where my daughter's going to go to college, because it's unknown. We don't know.
Okay, 0 to 10, when you think about that unknown, how strong is it?
It doesn't feel significantly big. It's probably like a 2.
Okay. What would be a preferred way of living with this unknown for you?
Peace and calm and harmony. Just trusting the process.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to find a sensation in your body that connects to that 2 or less than a 2. And we're going to find an eye position that connects to it. And then I'm going to ask you to also look around in your space or mind for a place that is pretty to look at. Nothing about the worry.
Okay.
Okay. Then when I'm going to count, do you want me to count up to 5, down to
Sure.
5? Okay.
5 sounds good.
Okay, I'm going to count up to 5. When I get to 5, you're going to just imagine that peace and calm and accepting the not worrying.
Okay. Do I look at which spot do I look at?
First, we're going to find that spot in your body.
Right here.
Okay. So don't look there. Look for something pretty to look at.
Okay. Looking out my window at the lake.
Okay. So in a moment, I'm going to tell you to go up there and I'm going to count. And we're going to call that spot the beginning spot. So go to the beginning spot.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go to that preferred way of living, just imagining yourself in that state of mind and being, and then go back to that beautiful spot.
I'm going to the pretty place.
Yeah, the pretty place. I call it the beautiful spot. Sorry. And then I check in with the client to say, what did you notice? And what do you notice now?
Just more connection to the peaceful spot, like that peaceful, calm place.
Great. So let's bring that more connection to the beginning spot.
Okay.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go to that more peaceful place. Let it expand however it needs to. Go back to the pretty spot.
Mhm.
Take a big, big, deep breath and let it out. And what do you notice?
Calm and peace. And this time I noticed something else in the pretty spot, which was kind of fun. Animal prints. And I was like, oh, what kind of animal is that? So more curiosity.
Yes. So that's what happens. Our vision opens up, our curiosity opens up. We see things that we didn't see before because the tension lifts. A switch in our head happens. This was a tiny, tiny little example, but that's how we integrate the counting, the visual field, and the preferred way of being, what I called before that revisioning. So I integrated the brain spotting, the revisioning, and the counting.
So that was really helpful. So thank you so much. And then that gives people an idea of what we're talking about, like how this all works and comes together. Because sometimes we're like, now what? What does that look like? How does that play out? So I think that really helps people understand it deeper.
I don't know that you can't really do this one alone. But I do have the self-spotting course where we teach people how to work from a very grounded place doing that focused mindfulness, and they can take that into their own meditations. And if they are clinicians, I just got approved for continuing ed for it as well. So, so they can get a couple of credits on that. And that will be the end of March. I do it like once or twice a year, but I also have it on Teachable.
We'll put that on a link in the show notes too for folks. And our time went so fast. Is there anything that you feel like was important to talk about when we think about authenticity and ways to becoming more of ourselves?
Yes, I want to say that to start to consider to trust yourself. So often, trust has been thwarted, and we tend to trust those that we maybe cause more harm than good, and we don't trust those who often are really very worthy of our trust. Trust has to be earned, but start with yourself. And I have in the first chapter this exercise called You Are Magnificent. Start looking in the mirror and look at yourself and consider, I'm trustworthy. I can learn to connect with myself and be real for myself. And then it will just ripple out. That's what I'd like to say.
Yes. And then get the journal that goes along with the book. I think that's also a way to integrate really working through all the blocking beliefs, the shame, the fear you might have, and to become more of who you are. So I definitely recommend picking that up. Where can people find you? We'll link all that in the show notes. But if people are like, I really love this conversation, they want to know more about you, Cynthia, where can they find you?
On my website, Synthesis, so it's a play on words, S as in Sam, I as in ice cream, S as in Sam.com. I have a whole little hub of different freebies. You can pick up a letter and that around authenticity, like this deck of cards that you can print out and then just live into that letter for the day. Then there's other things. There's a self-spotting on there. So yeah, take what you like and leave the rest, they say.
Oh, I love cards. Is it like a letter to yourself? Like what's the letter?
No, I literally, I also did a blog on it. So you can print out and then cut out like little cards and then you shuffle them and then you pick up like the letter A and then A is for authenticity. And it's like, I'm going to be a little bit more authentic today, or B and then whatever the B represents, and literally pick a letter for the day and live into it.
Oh, that's so fun.
It
I
is
was thinking
fun.
like this isn't applicable if you're listening today, print those off, cut them out and start there. Like if you're looking for a place to start, that's a great place to start. Pick one. It's not intimidating. You're going to pick a card and then see how you can apply it to your life, maybe that day or that week, and play with it.
Yeah. I mean, A is for awareness. B is for bona fide, believable, and genuine. So they're little affirmations to live with. And I was part of Al-Anon. Well, I still am, but I took the slogans when I first started and I would pick up a slogan and live into it. That's what inspired me to do this little card deck for everybody.
When people come into my office, I have like the Louise Hay cards and I'm like,
Yes.
pick a card. So I might print yours off. And then a client could take one because I love that you get something, you're taking something tangible and you're starting to try to integrate it into your heart center and your soul. And your spirit. So thank you for the work you're doing and joining us today. I am so grateful for you and you're making such a difference in the world. And it really matters who you are and what you're doing and your energy that you bring into a room. And so thank you. Thank you for that and being with us today and sharing your work.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I wish everybody a wonderful journey. Maybe our paths will cross.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia, so much. Thank you so much for listening to the Close the Chapter podcast. My hope is that you took home some actionable steps along with motivation, inspiration, and hope for making sustainable change in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, click the subscribe button to be sure to get the updated episodes every week and share with a friend or a family member. For more information about how to get connected, visit Kristen, Kristen, Boyce, Boice.com. Thanks and have a great day.